Planning a trip to Portugal? Whether you're exploring Lisbon, surfing in Ericeira, or road tripping through the Alentejo, staying connected is essential. I use Airalo every time I travel, even on some surfboat trips, adventures to the Maldives. So when we connected to collaborate, I was really genuinely happy. Airalo's eSIMs give you instant data the moment you land in a foreign country. No queues, no physical SIM cards, just seamless, reliable coverage. Travel smarter, stay connected, download Airalo before your next adventure. Follow this link in the show notes to get connected today. This episode of Podcast Portugal is brought to you by Flow Sports. If you're into jiu-jitsu, wrestling, rugby, cycling, basketball, and many more sports, Flow Sports have you covered. Stream live events, watch exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and dive into a world of top-tier sports coverage, all on one app. Don't miss a moment. Tap the link in the show notes to start watching with Flow Sports today. Podcast Portugal. Today we're going to sit down with former WQS tour. Sorry, man, I'm going to start again. I've got on here championship tour surfer. I don't know why that happened.
I did do the Challenger series.
Okay.
Maybe,
all right,
top 100.
We'll stick with that. You know what? I'm gonna continue. Because I always like a mistake because it always adds a little bit of personality.
Yeah, spice. Yeah.
So and José Ferreira, he went from being a professional surfer and then turned into a tech innovator. Zé is the co-founder of SurfREC, and it's a sort of cutting-edge automated surf filming system. I'm sure José is going to be able to explain it a lot better than I can. Currently, it's operating at Ribeira de Ilhas in Ericeira, and they're going to roll it out in Carcavelos. And I want Jay to sort of share his journey from being an elite athlete to an entrepreneur. And, and also I'd like to sort of announce that Justin West Coaching, if many of you don't know, is sort of another career I have as well as the podcast. And we are going to collaborate on some of this. So exciting stuff, exciting news. And this system is really, really cool. I don't know if you guys remember that little action camera. What was that little action camera called back in the day? I always what was it called?
You mean GoPro?
Yeah, GoPro. How did I forget? But if you see the success and the rise of GoPro in the past, and then suddenly it disappeared, it's it means that really, from my perspective, like there is a huge market for people filming their activities, and basically SurfREC just looks at it literally from a different angle, and I'm very excited for Zay to explain it a little bit more to our listeners, and you guys have a bit of a go. Zay, so let's take us back to the beginning. How did your surfing journey start, and what were the key sort of milestones that shaped your competitive career?
Right, man. Thank you so much for being on the cast. It's a privilege and an honor. So thank you for the invitation. So I started surfing around 8 years old. I come from Cascais in Portugal, coastal village. After school, my mom would take me to the beach, and so it was quite natural. Like I had an older cousin that would surf, and you know how older cousins or older brothers go when you're a kid. You want to imitate everything. So started to surf. At the time, I was this very shy kid, Boy Scout. And surfing, like first time I surfed, let's say this was around like 99, 2000. Surfing was still, as not as mainstream as it is today. It was a bit rebellious. It was a bit outcasts. Couldn't say it was marginalized still, but it was definitely not well seen in Portugal yet. And so it was perfect for me. at the time, as a kid that wanted to, explore new things. And uh, in Cascais, you kind of have like this bubble, social bubble, and so it was just very refreshing, and I got hooked from the get-go. And so from that to start like competing was a natural step, because I just wanted to find a way to be as close as possible to surfing. And at that time, competition was pretty much the only way to do that. So that's when I met my first coaches, Nuno Telmo and David Raimundo. They were just starting to create this training group, the first of its kind in Portugal at the time, alongside others that were doing it also in the south. But a more structured way of training in Portugal, I would say started around that time, maybe a bit before, but with young kids, with a structure and a method. I would say it started at that time, and I was lucky enough to be part of that group, which was also like a doctor's thesis from a university professor at the time. So he basically was an Olympic from gymnastics and from trampoline. And he wanted to, and those kinds of sports are super structured and they have a method for years, because they're Olympic sports. And basically, his doctor thesis was to create the same structure and method for surfing. And I was basically a tryout from this. And alongside me, there was Vasco Ribeiro, there was Felipe Gervis, Francisco Alves, Pedro Pinto. I mean, some people that kind of did stuff, Miguel Blanco, João Cop. We were all from the same generation. We were all training with them. And then just, it was quite natural to just start competing, 12, 13 years old, going into competitions, a lot of training, a lot of trips. Um, and yeah, that was pretty much the process of getting into surfing, getting into competition, and trying to have a go at it.
Yeah. I always see like it's such a great, I've been to a few QS events, and it's such a nice thing for you guys to do. It's a real social stuff. You learn how to sort of budget. You learn how to sort of share accommodation and cars, but you go all over the world and meet a whole bunch of different people, and it's yeah, for in terms of experiences, I think doing that is fantastic. You get to learn so much. And it's really interesting to know. I didn't know about that history of the surf training around Kashkash. I had no idea of this doctorate, and that's cool to know. That's cool. I came from Sergio, Sergio Wu and I. We did a course back in the day, the British Surfing Association. It was called. He flew over from Portugal and did that course. So I kind of had hooked up with him a long time ago, and he was the coach for Marlon and Melvin Lipke, and for the Mozinhos, and for Alex Patelio, all those guys from the south. So I kind of came from his methodology, So yeah, it's nice to know. I didn't know that. That was news to me, but that's cool. So
Yeah.
how did you get into sort of becoming from a professional surfer to entrepreneur? Did you go back to uni, or were you always studying as well as sort of keeping your surfing going?
Yeah. So just for the reference, the name of this guy is Miguel Moreira.
Okay.
And actually, I think he's a scholar.
Okay, I'm gonna
But
check it
he's
out.
part of the surfing federation. If you want to check it out,
Yeah,
or
I need to. That'd
anyone
be cool.
wants to, maybe his doctorate thesis is available online. I don't know. Um, so I think, yeah. Then you know, continuing the story, started competing, a lot of contests, a lot of this, a lot of that. Crisis 2000, the subprime crisis hit in 2008, kind of hit surfing in 2012, 13. Um, and so brands understood that they couldn't really manage uh, things as they had been managing. And, they discovered that actually there's a digital world, so we don't need to sponsor 10,000 guys. We can just sponsor 1,000 guys and use these 1,000 guys and do marketing with these 1,000 guys because everyone knows these 1,000 guys. And so we can, use Dane Reynolds to do marketing in wherever in Portugal. We don't need Zé Ferreira. We don't need, local heroes that much since we're cutting costs. And after few years competing and few years on the Challenger Series, on what today we call Challenger Series, hard life, a lot of lonely time, a lot of ups, lots of downs. I would say more downs than ups. And you know what they say, like the downs are hit harder than the ups feel good, something like that. And so, and as well, surfing is in elite sports. I would say it's like you have one focus, and that's all you have to focus on if you want to be the best, or at least that's how I looked at it. Maybe today I wouldn't have done things the same way, but I just kind of got fed up from it,
Mm.
and at the same time, I kind of had a signal. Let's say I lost my main sponsor, and I, kind of had these doubt till these days. Like I could have stayed. I could have, you know, transformed myself within the surfing realm, as in becoming a free surfer, or just doing something like so many people are doing, like influencers and stuff. But I guess that wasn't my decision. And so back in 2018, I traveled to South Africa. Actually, I spent a few weeks at Graham Smith's house in Durban. This is Jordy Smith's dad,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
he was shaping for me, and he was actually like kind of mentoring me as well at the time. And I got to spend time with Tom Hewitt. He has a project called Surfers Not Street Children.
Yeah.
And I spent a few days with him at his NGO, and this like really hit me. I was like, not 18, bit older actually, like 19, 20. And we maintained contact, and this like little seed never got out of me. So when I was like deciding, should I stop competing, should I not stop competing, and let me just say that was like a very tough decision, because that's all I knew in my life. I studied until I finished high school. My parents did uh, make sure of that gladly, because a lot of kids these days, they're 12, 13, they're online schooling and stuff. For some it might make sense, but I think like school is such an important plays such an important role in your development as a person, and that will also impact the way you compete, in my opinion. But anyway, uh, yeah, and so I had this thing in mind of like, so basically what Tom was doing, and he does an amazing job. Surfers Not Street Children, that's the name of the project. So basically, he helps street kids in Durban, which is a real social problem. And he basically has a house with food services, with beds, with education. And the way they keep the kids coming and staying at this house, like, and actually abiding by the structure, in is through surfing. So basically the kids, like, it's tough. uh the kids are like 8, 9 years old. They're addicts. Some of them suffered like some really heavy traumatic situations, and they don't trust people in general. um and they have a hard time committing.
Mm.
At the end of the day, committing to themselves, investing in themselves, because they have been so disinvested by, the ones that should have taken care of them and stuff. But yeah, obviously, their parents, they probably been through the same thing. So
Mhm.
just systemic poverty and social problems. But anyway, the beautiful thing here is when the kids touch the water and when the kids start surfing, it's like if you're, you know, putting seeds again in a very nutritive soil.
Yeah.
The kids it's
Brought
kind of like a rebirth.
yeah, brought to the
And
moment and sort of just literally all the pain of the past is forgotten for that moment, and they're just sort of the ocean brushes over them and cleans them and everything is afresh. Yeah, I can imagine that.
exactly, exactly that. Um, and it's very powerful. And also, like in the water, the kids are not in their comfort zone. Some of them are like very aggressive, um, or violent. But anyway, in the water, they're out of their comfort zone, so they do have to depend on others, and that's a great opportunity to create confidence relationships with someone.
Nice.
And that's how they actually start trusting, uh, older people, that then become references to them and help them through the programs. And if you go to Durban, if you go, for instance, to the surf club or the beach restaurants, you'll see a lot of these kids that came through the program when they were 8 years old, and now they're 20. And Tom and the whole team found them a job. They went to school, and they will never forget their past. They will always have their past, but at least they have a future. And it's, I would say, the most serious surf therapy program in the world, because it's actually, it's not 1 week, it's not 3 weeks, it's not a year, it's their life.
Mm.
They have a help for life. And this is really amazing, and so this really inspired me. And when I was thinking about leaving surfing and stop competing, I I um I met this guy from this association, and we thought, uh, why not do something like this in Portugal? So, and this was pretty much my spin off from competing into entrepreneurship. And my first experience with entrepreneurship was social entrepreneurship. And I then met a psychologist called Emma, and we started, Wave by Wave, which was basically a therapeutical intervention based on surfing for kids at risk. In Portugal, we do not have street kids, but we do have, um, a lot of kids that are institutionalized,
Mhm.
so have been taken away from their families because they have been exposed to some danger situation or risk situation, such as, negligence. That's the first cause in Portugal, meaning, the kids are not eating, the kids are not going to school, the kids, the parents are just not there. Sometimes the parents are addicted to drugs or alcohol. Sometimes, anyway, then you can be taken away by sexual. I know this is a bit heavy. I'm not sure we. This is the,
No, no, it's fine. It's a reality, and I think it's super
but this
important.
is the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was super heavy for me at the moment, at the time, because all these stories were quite heavy. And first world problems. It's not hunger and not no place to sleep, but it's like a lot of psychological, trauma, and also physical trauma. And these kids are living in houses like, that are, although the people working here try their best, but it's sometimes very unhumane. as a kid to grow up like this. So it's a real problem that still happens today. Like if you're taken away from your family, if you're not lucky enough to, you know, to go to a house that it's doesn't have that many kids and has a good structure, maybe you'll end up in a house with like 40 other kids. Everyone is super traumatized. The people working there are super tired all the time, and it's just like each kid for himself almost, here or her. And so we said like, okay, yeah, like these kids obviously could benefit from what we're doing. And so we started there. We started with kids that were institutionalized, um, and we just created a basically a program, um, where kids would come. It would be for 3 hours. We'd have like the first 45 minutes would be like a first dynamic, a group dynamic, then a warm up, surfing, and then a final dynamic. Obviously, then the psychological. So the teams were half psychologists and half surf teachers.
Wow.
And basically, we would give psychologists a wetsuit and teach them how to be in the water, and we would teach the surf teachers how to have a more, let's say, therapeutical approach.
Hmm.
Um, and so it was a multidisciplinary team. Obviously, sometimes, if a kid was having, a crisis or something, you can be the best psychologist in the world, but if you don't know how to act in a crisis, sometimes it's the surf teacher that has way more skills than you. So that's the strength of the multidisciplinary team right there.
Hmm.
Right? It's not just about your uh, academic background. And that would make the project super interesting. But
And how and
that
how
was, yeah, that was my first experience because
how was that
I came
funded? Did you
from.
get funding from the local councils, or was it sort of donations, or how did you keep everyone going, and or did sort of everybody just contribute their time?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question because one of my like goals was really to. I was thinking like if someone working in, as an architect or a banker or a doctor is well paid, why shouldn't like social workers be well paid? Like they're doing an important job. And so from the get go, I, was also lucky enough uh, and I think the project was well structured, still is. And we had great sponsors, the council, uh, Gulbenkian, KUF, Altice at the time, Fundação Altice. Um, we had Santa Casa da Misericórdia de Lisboa. We had a different foundations. So we had a lot of support. We were actually like we grew in our biggest point to be like a 22 people team, both in Lisboa and also in Porto. So we had two stations, one here, one there. We also won a grant at the time, public grant. Public grants in Portugal, like obviously the money is welcome, but they really suck in terms of bureaucracy and timing. So it was hard to manage, but yeah, I did have to worry about marketing. I did have to worry about managing a team and organizing a team. I did have to worry about fundraising, uh, um, and so this was a great experience, but it was a tough one because uh, coming out from surfing, which was a very like pretty selfish sport, and where you were doing everything for yourself, and you had a team working for you. Now is the opposite, different, and so I suffered a lot, learning learning all the things I needed to learn on the job. And so after 6 years in Wave by Wave, I decided it was time to move on to different things, and I went back to study at Nova SBE in Carcavelos, and I took a business and economics post graduation, an 8-month course for executives. this was like I was like a sponge, actually, like absorbing everything, because all the things that made me like run and suffer, and you know now I was putting names to it. Now I was seeing how all the things connect, and yeah, I should have done that before, basically.
Wow, it's interesting. It's an interesting learning experience, and we can take a few things from there. Like, firstly, the travel, and going, finding new ideas, and then bringing them back to Portugal. Then going through those types of experiences, sort of off your own back, really, and then going into education, and then the learning, sort of what that all meant, and what are the different methods that you used, and how you how you now can sort of do something different. I think it's interesting, and I think we should never discount like lifelong learning, accompanied with sort of more structured learning as well. It's very cool to hear.
For sure. Yeah. um yeah, I wouldn't say that I would dismiss the value of learning, or not learning, but school or university. I was just very um, convinced that my way, like my path, wasn't going through there. And I was might not be the. I think there's timings for things, right? And I'm just glad I went back to school, and also seeing how the competitive play field is these days for new kids.
Yeah.
If I had an advice, it's like start saving money from your prize money, like since the get-go,
Mm.
like seriously, and do not dismiss school. Like if you can, even if you do university slowly, like instead of doing it in 3 years, you can do it in 7 or 8.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I agree. Like, I really didn't know what I wanted to do from sort of 18 until 30, really. Like, I sort of bounced around, but I stayed, but mostly because of my parents. They sort of just encouraged me to stay in university, and I did a degree. I first started doing fine art and painting and sculpture, and I realized, like, after that, I wasn't really going to make much money from that. So I went into something that was still design and creative, but had a sort of manufacturing element. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I actually realized that when I got super into manufacturing surfboards, and I went into partnership with a surfboard shaper, in Cornwall in the UK, and I realized, like, all of the design and the manufacturing skills came into play, and I didn't even know, sort of, oh, okay, I can use this in this area. So yeah, I don't think, and I also think now these days I probably learn more than what I used to do in my 20s or 30s, because I think learning just you should never be afraid to go back and go to study doing something different, or even not even for the aim of earning money, but for the aim of your greater enlightenment. I think, I think sometimes we get stuck in a rut in a career. We follow that same thing, and we probably have other interests, but we don't sort of follow them. Maybe it's time issues or whatever. But hopefully, with AI and the way things are going, hopefully humans are going to have more chance to expand their horizons, and I think that's only going to be good worldwide. For sure.
yeah, that's well. I didn't know you had study arts. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, I actually have a completely separate persona. Like, I have a whole fine art. I still paint now. I have a studio. I've had a few exhibitions in Lisbon, an exhibition in Barcelona.
where can I look up your work? Do you have
Yeah,
like
yeah.
something?
It's called Derange West. Derange hyphen West. So
Turais with a T?
Derange, like the Portuguese Derange. It's my wife Rita Derange's name, so it's our
Ah,
son's name
Turais.
is Derange.
Okay.
So Dur, A with the little squiggle on the top, ES, and then hyphen West. So the paintings are all about movement in time and space, with the influence from the ocean and the energies of the morning and the evening. So so it's kind of related to surfing in many ways. Because I'm coaching people movement in time and space, and the paintings. But yeah, I had a 25.
You are a man of many trades.
Well, it's a hindrance and a part of happiness. That's one of the things that I'm realizing at 52 years old is I have so many interests. You see the time ticking down, and I start to get a little bit stressed that I have so many interests and so many things to do. I can never focus on one thing. So I try my best to keep everything going and juggling. And I get up in the morning and I have one cup of coffee, and then I get super anxious and what to do. I can't really decide which thing to do. Podcast, surf coaching, the farm we have here, the painting. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but
So
that's
how
it.
do you manage all that? Because
Well, I don't manage it very well. That's the problem. Unfortunately, it comes down to money. So, what at that particular moment do I need to focus on to get enough revenue in for the next month, for the next couple of months? And usually, it's surf coaching and the podcast. Luckily, with the podcast, we have people working for us selling the advertising. So I just get to do the production, which is super nice. But there's always stuff to do, There's always marketing to do, posts to do, changing websites, making connections. The world is a very busy place, and it's super competitive. I have very little chance now to surf, because if I go surfing, it's like a couple of hours out of my day, and I get stressed, which is the opposite of what you want, right? So I need to be able to. Surfing is,
I feel the same thing. But
yeah,
then I go surfing and the world didn't collapse.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
You need to
But
take that moment out, right?
yeah, trying to force that moment,
Yeah,
because like an uncle of mine the other day was like, I feel like I had such a busy life, and he's a very successful uh, person, um, financially as well, um, but he said something like, but I feel my life like was a blink of an eye, you know,
yeah. How
because
old?
I
How old's
spent a
your
lot of
uncle?
time working, and I don't know, man. I just think, when you're like, when you had a day and you had a very busy day, you were very productive at work, but your wife or someone else said, "Oh, let's just go for a 15-minute walk or whatever," and
Hmm.
at least I go like, "Oh, I'm full of things, all right, but let's go." And then the actual thing that I remembered from that day is those 15 minutes,
Yeah,
not the.
yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to manage when
Yeah. You got to learn to
one
balance.
needs to survive and pay the
Yeah.
bills and stuff. It's
You got to learn to breathe, and actually, it's something that you also need to not feel like you have to do everything yourself. You have to trust. You can't micromanage everything. You have to sort of trust people around you and get really good people. I think that's partly the success of being an entrepreneur is the ability to find good people and have faith in those good people and to follow along the same mission. I tend to sort of micromanage everything, and so then I get too stressed, and it's my failure. Something that I try to work on a lot is trusting other people to do their stuff, and
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know,
Yeah, because it's not going to be. I've kind of accepted that, and learned that, have been learning that, which is, it's not going to be exactly the way I want, but at least it's. But maybe it's gonna, like, maybe some people are gonna like it better than my version. Not number one. Number two, like, yeah, I didn't have to, invest my time in doing it, in doing that, and that's the way to grow, at least a business, because if people are fit for the job, if they feel like they can grow, and also personally myself, I need to accept that they will make mistakes, but they will also grow from that.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, that's pretty much like about building a team, right?
Mm. It's
Um,
economies of not economies of scale in terms of product, but it's almost like economies of scale in terms of time. Um,
exactly,
you know.
exactly. Um, and yeah, I mean that's been like a very present challenge these days for me. It's obviously when we're just starting up with SurfREC,
Yeah,
so it's basically a on-demand system that follows a GPS tracker surfers take on their arm while surfing.
yeah,
So basically, we've created this system where we install a smart locker at the beach. People just log in, take a bracelet, go surf. The cameras follow the bracelet, and when they deliver the bracelet back, all their waves get sent to their account. So
beautiful.
it's a way of democratizing access to surf footage that until this day, for free surfers in general, has been a bit hard to get.
Hmm.
Um, for some reasons, some people are just shy and feel that others will say, "Oh, who does he or she thinks they are?" Arriving at the beach with a cameraman, so people, sometimes don't go because of that, or because they don't want to say, "Okay, in 3 days at 4 p.m. at this beach," and then you have a meeting or you have to pick up your kids and you can't go anymore, and so time constraints, a lot of few reasons, and so
Well, you just got to see like the success of GoPro. GoPro went absolutely insane. But
yeah.
for surfing, in my opinion, it never really, I don't know, it's the wrong perspective. Okay, yeah, you can show the inside of a very small tube or whatever, or show yourself falling off or showing yourself somebody dropping in on you. But the angle is all wrong. And the beauty about your robotic camera on the beach, the station there, is it can literally film you surfing down the wave, and it's the right frame size. It follows you down the wave as well, so it's not like a big panoramic screen. It's
Mhm.
literally moving with you, which is super cool. And that's exactly how I film for my surf coaching clients. All my clients are from intermediate up to elite. So, as long as they're very capable out the back, and I always brief them with the surfing etiquette to make sure that they're not going to be annoying to other people in the water, or at worst case scenario, dangerous. Um, and they surf, and we work on their line, and we work on their cutbacks, we work on their takeoff, we work on the foot position, all the fundamentals, the foundations, all the way up to elite athletes who are training multiple combinations, and that is the angle. The SurfREC angle is the angle that I film from, and I take that footage and I do screen grabs and lines all over the wave and show them different combinations down the line, and where they could have been more vertical, where they could have sort of cut back, and set up turns, and it's just such a fantastic way of coaching people in surf, because it's a very difficult sport. We talked about your first professor who was doing his doctorate and being more structured, and it's very interesting because a wave is a moving platform, so you can start to talk to them about doing certain combinations, but then there will just be a little kink in the wave or a little bit of a chandelier in the wave, and that whole lesson plan is sort of out out the window. So and the importance of any sport, I come a lot from martial arts, so the importance of any sport is to sort of wax on and wax off, and to repeat action so that the muscles have memory, and it becomes instinctive, like walking. And yeah, and surfing is very interesting in that, because it's really hard to get repetition. So if you can surf a wave like Ribeira, which is kind of can be a little bit mechanical, you can. It's probably the nearest thing that we have to being a wave where you can do certain things in certain parts of the wave due to the shape. So I'm very excited about this project, because it means that I don't have to get in the car, drive 2 hours north. Although I love to be on the beach, don't get me wrong, but in terms of economy, I can save myself 4 hours driving a day, and people can send me their video. It's cheaper for me. It's cheaper for the client. And yeah, I'm super happy. I'm super excited about it. If you're looking to level up your surfing, I've got a couple of easy ways to get you moving forward. I'm running in-person coaching sessions here in Portugal with flexible dates. So if you're traveling through or planning a trip, we can lock in a few sessions and I can work on exactly what your surfing needs. And thanks to our collaboration with SurfREC, the AI robotic filming system now operating in Ribeira de Ilhas and Carcavelos, you can get footage of your sessions. Just send me 5 clips and I'll break down every detail for you. But even if you're not in Portugal, no problem. You can send me up to 5 waves from anywhere in the world. Surf trip in Indo, competition heats, your local surf break, even from wave pools. If you've got the footage, the film, I'm happy to analyze it. If you want to dive deeper into SurfREC, check out Podcast Portugal episode 50 with José Ferreira to book surf coaching sessions, to find out more about our immersive surf training camps, online video analysis programs, and special JWC, Justin West Coaching rates for using SurfREC. Head to justinwestcoaching.com. Direct links are in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, GoPro was really strong also because of their their marketing was amazing. They the same way as Macintosh and Apple said basically everyone can be a designer easily. GoPro said everyone can be a pro or feel like a pro, and it was a very emotional message and a very successful one at that. But it was a moment, right? At least for GoPro. I mean, they still go, they still go strong, but that first impact that is gone, and I with SurfREC is a bit different. Obviously, we want people to, let's say, relieve their glory in a different perspective, in a better perspective. But above all, we also want people to make it real, in a world and in an industry where everyone promise you so much, like you're going to be a pro surfer, things are going to be great, palm trees, perfect waves, but oftentimes people dismiss like what also is very important in surfing, and what keeps you drawn to the sport more time, actually, which is sometimes analyzing in not so great waves or going through some cold. Um, sometimes looking at your wave, you don't love what you're seeing, but that's actually the path to go if you want to get a bit better, and then arrive to those palm trees and perfect waves and actually rip a bit more and have more fun. So our value proposition for surfers is besides content and creating memories, and we also want to create, let's say, an online global community where surfers can share their waves, and you know um just a bit like Strava for cycling and running, but for surfing. I think that's missing in the surfing industry, and for surfers a bit. But to actually make it real, to actually, if you're an intermediate surfer, you can be better by using those videos to work them out with you, Justin. And maybe you don't need to have a coach every week, twice a week, or you can also have that plus have this new complement. So the value proposition here is kind of for the surfer to have an easier, more accessible, practical way to evolve, but also for coaches that have been, limited to their geographical area, spend a lot of time and energy at the beach and money in logistics and stuff, to actually have a new revenue stream where they can earn more money with less effort.
Well, it's always been a thing for me. Like surf coaching is something that I actually love to do, if I could find other revenue streams, I'd do it for free. but it literally, and so the thing that I wrestle with it is like sort of economies of scale. How can I do more surf coaching but with less cost, and it's without losing the value, because I don't have more. Most of the time I'm coaching one or two people in a group. I never have more than four, because after four with this type of level, it's very difficult in a 3-hour session to focus on the individuals, because it's all specifically individual on what they need to do. It's very hard to give a general class to four people. Unlike maybe at the beginner stage where you can sort of all have a structured class on the 1, 2, 3 and how to stand up and that kind of thing. When it comes to the bigger levels, if you go more than groups of 4, it gets very, very tricky. And I think you lose value a little bit, and the economics don't really make sense. You can't really ask somebody to pay, I don't know, sort of 125 euros and, and share the coach between sort of 10 people for 3 hours. It doesn't really make much sense in terms of value.
Yeah,
I don't believe.
When you hear a coach saying what you just said, and for everyone listening, that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, because if someone says that, they'll charge, even if it's less, but it's that quality uh, against pricing thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer pay 40 euros for something that's not going to have that much impact, or 100 euros for something that's actually going to have an impact? So,
Yeah.
And for sure, I think that surfing is so specific, and the evolution of surfing, the technical part of surfing, it requires attention, it requires focus, and so for sure, like I would say that 4 is a great number to have people in the water and to actually being able to pay attention to them.
It seems to work for me. Like any more than even sort of 4, I start to get a little bit stressed out. We have everybody on heat rotations, and I'm sort of talking to one person and explaining stuff on the beach, and then the other guy's surfing, and I'm trying to film them, and so like even for me, like if I'd be coaching in Ribeira, I'd have my camera, and I'll just have the guys with the SurfREC strap on as well, so I don't miss any of their waves. That would be ideal, because I get stressed. I get stressed that people are not happy, and they've paid their hard-earned money, and for me, I get very, very stressed if they're not absolutely amped. And I know you can't make everybody happy, but I'll really try. There's a really good message. Have you ever heard of a guy called Richard Branson? He was like a multimillionaire from back in the day. He had Virgin Atlantic, like airline.
Yeah.
So he was kind of an interesting entrepreneur, and he always used to say, like, if you want to be successful, you have to do something either completely different or do something the same as everybody else, but just add that much more value. Try to just go one step further, have a little bit better value for the money that they're spending. And I always took that to heart. So I always try to go. I research what other coaches are doing, and I'll try to go a couple of steps further. And I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's like so much to, as usual, surfing is a bit behind in this digital innovation into sports era. Like you go into football, you have predictive models where that football player that is going to be hurt in his left lamb 3 games from now if he keeps running in this way. In golfing, you can study the angles of your swing with a determined thing. And
I was going to say that actually. It's actually how I got into surf coaching and video analysis. Was back in the day when I was surfing. There was a very influential boss of mine, a character that I worked for a marketing company, and he was super into golfing. He was trying to get me into golfing because he knew that I kind of like tennis and things like this. And he used to show me his golf swing on this sort of camera system that sort of broke down the swing, and I was like, wow, I'm surfing a lot, and I really want to improve. how am I going to apply this? So I literally got I bought like a really terrible camera. I think it was like mini disc or no, a mini cassette at the time. And I used to have it on a tripod on the beach. I used to just get one of my friends to press play. And I used to analyze it wasn't really for anybody else. I just used to analyze my own surfing because I wanted to get so much better. And I realized like, hey, this is something, I
Yeah,
went to do a
yeah,
few
yeah, yeah.
courses and stuff, but yeah, it was cool. But it came
And
from
I
that
think
idea with golf. Other sports are so much more advanced with this kind of thing.
for sure, and also just coaching in general. I feel that you have in surfing, like for the, let's say if we break it down, we have like 1% pro surfers, we have 3-4% of beginners, and everyone else is a free surfer. And in general, like if we look at tennis, if we look at football, if we look at golf, if we look at judo, whatever other sports, these usually have a way bigger percentage of these 95% that have a coach than in surfing. In surfing, this tradition is growing and growing and growing. I think there's a tendency, but the culture was a bit like you learn by yourself, you learn with your elders, and that's how you learn. Also because surfing is a young sport, I
Yeah.
would say still. But now I think people are really starting to turn and say, hey, if I have a coach, if I analyze my footage, I'm going to get better. I'm going to have more fun. So people can actually see this relation. Some of them haven't yet had the action, the incentive to go ahead with this. And but I do think people understand the relation. It's just not yet so in the culture. I mean, it's if you want to start with golfing, it's actually the opposite. Maybe you go with a friend for the first time and to the green and shoot some swings. Your friend will actually try to teach you. As long, like, when you start getting good, that's when you have a coach. And in surfing is the opposite. Like, you have a coach in your first like 5 or 6 surf lessons or 10 surf lessons in a soft board, and then when you go to a normal board, short board or whatever, a lot of times you just stop and you go by yourself and you start learning by yourself and you just get stuck like for years. When having
It's
a
the hardest
session
moment.
with
It's the hardest moment of surfing as well, is that moment where you can get out the back. Whether you deserve to be out the back or not is another question. But if somehow you get out the back, um, and it's like, okay, what do I do now? How do I drop a wave? And I actually see so much wrong education as well. I see I see a lot of the positioning and how to drop a wave taught not very well. And that's kind of a little bit interesting, but it's that whole area that the first sort of that first confidence and the etiquette. Not only are we talking here about sort of surfing skills development, but surfing etiquette. With more users in the water. I just interviewed actually someone called Vera Azevedo. She's just done her doctorate. She's a I can't ever pronounce the word, but she's done a doctorate, and it's all about surfing and villages and how it affects sort of local people, and how the water increased water users affects the sort of the ocean and this kind of thing.
Mhm,
And it's super interesting because it's like you get an influx of people, and how does that sort of then influence the local culture?
mhm,
And we can see this all over the world with sort of localism and all this kind of stuff. And luckily in Portugal, we everybody is pretty easygoing and welcoming. But we also need to just keep an eye on things in some ways, that it doesn't start to get negative like it is in for example with tourism in Barcelona at the moment. We need to make sure that we, as a community, we sort of manage it a little bit, and because a lot of it is just from lack of education. You might
Exactly.
get surfers that come and maybe even just learn in a wave pool, for example, and they'll come to the ocean and they just don't know the lineup etiquette, or they do know it and they don't care. But most of the time, I find that it's people that just don't really understand uh, lineup etiquette, and we're talking about something that keeps other water users safe. And it is can be a bit of a gray area, and it's a complicated area. So and how this is managed now in the future with more water users, there's going to be more drop-ins, more. That would be the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is that we can use SurfREC footage, to sort of analyze the lineup. Okay, you did this wrong. You shouldn't have taken that wave because you literally just paddled straight back out. You spun around on the inside, you took another wave, and that guy was already a little bit deeper, and you didn't look.
Yeah.
So this,
And how do you do you address this
uh,
with
if I don't know
your
somebody, yeah, if I don't know if it's a new client, most of my clients actually are repeat clients, but if it's a client that I don't know, it's before they hit the water, we go through surfing etiquette, and I don't even care if they say that they're a pro or whatever. I still sort of make sure that they know that, and they appreciate the fact if they do know already that I'm actually going over it. It's the only way, and I think every surf guide, every surf coach, every surf school, every surf club has a real opportunity to a responsibility, exactly, to anybody in the surfing industry has a responsibility to look at this because it can get out of control. It can be very negative, and Portugal, our industry, economy, how we all live in this country in terms of our health system, schooling, and everything is actually quite reliant on tourism, and it's reliant a large part on surfing. I think a lot of the success of the economy of Portugal has been down to surfing and the use of the ocean. And I think we need to make sure that we cherish that, we nurture it, and we keep it happy for everybody, and we keep it a positive experience for everybody. And I think it's a responsibility for everybody, not just to take, not just to make your money from the ocean and then go surf in somewhere else on a boat trip. You got to sort of, it's your local spot. It might not be because you might not have grown up there, but if you pay taxes, I always think like if you pay taxes to the local camera, you're local to that spot. That's how you earn your right to say that you can you're part of
yeah
the community there, the local community, because you contribute. And we have a lot of people that don't contribute. You know,
yeah
uh,
yeah for sure. I completely agree. Um I think surf schools, surf coaches, surf stakeholders as surf clubs, even surf schools or surf brands
yeah,
like SurfREC. We all have I'd say a responsibility because we're the ones building the culture, or building or having a big impact in the culture. So I think it's also up to us to have that in mind when passing our messages, and it's that little big thing that you're doing with new people that reach out to you. I think it's super important,
hmm,
and for us as SurfRec, it's kind of our bigger mission is to bring harmony in the lineups as well,
yeah,
because surfing is growing each year like 5 to 10%
is it? Yeah,
of people who do it, and not just surfing, right? Wave riders, so
hmm,
longboards, bodyboards, kite surf. So
so
it's
yeah,
it's we will be more, not less, in the future,
mm,
and so we definitely need um to have this, to pass down this culture, whereas in the past, like if you did the wrong thing, maybe you'd be expelled out of the water or yelled at, and that still happens, of course, but I would say that we will evolve into people um actually needing to find this guidance in coaching, but also in the culture itself. Because if, as you were saying, you started surfing in a wave pool, or if you were born in a country with not a lot of waves, which like you see a lot in Portugal, a lot of
It's
people that
the highest
were born in
population.
countries with
Mm.
yeah, with not a lot of waves, so hence not a lot of surf culture. So when they get here, is kind of not their fault because they don't know it. I would say they should be wary of the fact that if they don't know, they should try and find some information. Obviously, you can't go like a champion, arrive at a place and just think you own it, right?
Yeah.
You have to, ask around, see how, because we're talking about the ocean. There's waves, there's other people. It's danger for you and for others, right? So you do have to, I would say, be humble and just look it up, talk to people. So when you start having contact with these touch points, so schools, coaches, brands, if we all align in in what's important, I think people are that much more um, probable of aligning in this culture of uh, you know re- like knowing how to position, knowing how to behave in the water, knowing what a priority is, knowing what a lineup is, and how to manage it.
Yeah. It's
Because
a
I'm
good
I'm
friend.
I'm saying this because I want more people in the lineup, not because I want less. But
Yeah.
having more people in the lineup doesn't mean that it has to be a mess. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like that.
It's education. If you understand, if you've had some footage, you see in the footage, the film, that perhaps you're not the pro that you thought you were. And it's understanding that, okay, well, maybe I'm going to progress a lot better if I just find my own peak. I'm not competing there. I'm getting more waves on maybe a lesser wave, but I'm getting more repetition. I'm not trying to sort of wrestle myself onto the peak and then just maybe getting 4 or 5 waves a session. I'm getting 30 waves, but on not such a good wave, but I'm getting the repetition, which helps me improve. And I think it's that education as well to teach people what the ocean looks like and what a peak is, and not just turn up at the beach and go see, and you look out and you think, oh, there's a bunch of people over on the peak. It must be a good place to sit. It must be good waves today. So I'm going to go sit with them. It's that kind of mentality that we need to work on. It's the sort of crowding mentality, and it's
Yeah,
like find your own peak. That's what surfing for me used to always be about. I used to climb down cliffs and fishermen's paths and everything because I wanted to find my own peak. And I think that sort of sense of adventure is lost a little bit in many ways. To and
yeah, man. That's what surfing is all about for me personally. But like that's what gets me going. Like literally, you just touched it. Adventure, going down trails, even if the waves aren't amazing. Like
Mhm.
obviously, if they are, cherry on top. But adventure is what surfing is for me. But I'm not sure if that's the case for most of the people these days. I would
Yeah.
even argue that it isn't. It's more about the surfing itself and just being in the water and evolving.
Maybe social.
And
Maybe maybe a
it's
lot of
also
people like
social.
to be with people and say hello and be in crowds. It's possible. I don't know. It's so foreign to me, but it could be.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's fine as long as people get along and respect each other. But I've been like in Ribeira with SurfREC, and we open in October. We're gonna open in December in Carcavelos. But so I spend a lot of time like on the ground talking to people, um, presenting SurfREC, asking them if they want to try out the service and explain a bit the outcomes that come with it. And um, we do get answers like, "Oh, I'm not good enough."
yeah.
That's like the first red flag where I see our culture is really not there yet. You know, if you think you're not good enough to see yourself filmed, then how are you going to get better? So the the most beginner you are, like the sooner you need to see yourself on film
Mm-hmm.
to get better, and then analyze it with someone like you.
Yep.
we get answers like waves are not good enough, and it's clean, half a meter to 1 meter. So in some people's minds, you just want to film to get your best wave, and that's really not the case. Like if you want to do that good wave, you definitely need to analyze shittier days or just normal days.
Yeah.
Um, and so there are a few. I mean, I'm saying this as an ex pro surfer. I know like how analyzing in the shitty days
Yeah.
helped me to evolve a lot in the better days.
Yep.
And so obviously free surfers don't need to be pros. I don't think they want to, but I'm sure people that surf want to progress because that will allow them to have more fun. Um, and so there's a few things in the mindset I still think the general surfers should pay attention to. But
Yeah.
I think that's a process. It will take its time, I would say.
Yeah. There's some expectation as well. Like I find sometimes like the best maneuvers that I've ever done, memorable maneuvers have always been done in sort of not so great surf, which is kind of interesting. But I think there's something like when you go out when it's really perfect, there's a little bit of expectation, and you get a little bit maybe a little bit stressed and a little bit overexcited, and I always tend to bomb it on the first waves, and then I'm like, but if I go out and it's not very good, I don't have any expectation. I'm almost thinking, this is going to be terrible conditions, and then I actually do a couple of things which feel really good. And I think that is also a message I think that needs to go out to intermediates. It's like it's not always about the perfect dates, you know. It's like what we're saying, improvements come sometimes in the not so perfect days, and that's also when you should be using SurfREC and filming yourself, because that's when sometimes you have those little sections that appear down the line which you can hit, you know. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
cool.
mean, if you do everything right, obviously there's stuff to analyze and get better. But I think you're gonna get way more juice of like a wave that didn't go amazing than a wave that went good.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's gonna feel good to see the good wave, but in terms of improvement juice, you're gonna take way more from waves where that mistake you're always doing shows up, and you have, or at first you probably don't even know that is something you need to
yeah,
think about and better.
yeah,
And this thing about connecting the dots from what you're doing and then seeing it, it's a game changer for surfing. Like
yeah,
it really is. I mean, um the feedback, um it's the number one, but actually for me as a surfer to actually like match that feedback with an image
yeah.
was a game changer. And I was pretty like addicted to watching my videos and where I could improve, and watching it in slow-mo, and rehearing
Yeah.
in my head what my coach.
Watching it
um
alongside Geordie Smith, you know, like I often use Geordie, you know, because you were with Geordie's dad. I often use Geordie as a really good example for many of my students. You know, and I'll literally I'll do a screen grab of him doing a bottom turn or like a neutral stance into a setup turn, and I'll screen grab it and put it the same moment, same similar wave to a student, and they can just see exactly where they should be putting their arms, where they should be, you know, where they should be looking, and it's like, okay, I can visualize that. Some people can visualize that much easier, and no, I'm really cool. I'm really excited, man. And so, what do you think the future of SurfREC is looking like? What's next?
um yeah, so we're piloting at the moment. We've opened up Ribeira, Carcavelos in a bit, and our goal now is first to have a national presence and validate that people actually want to use it,
Yep,
um, which has been going well. But also to create this, you know, platform that connects coaches with surfers around the world to analyze their waves and basically create a global community where all these things that we're talking about, culture, analysis, sharing knowledge, can happen on with more intention. Because at the moment you have a few outlets in surfing in terms of community. You have the forecast outlets with Surfline. You have the surf news outlet with Stab. Um, you have the WSL Fantasy Surfing, which is a game or in competitive surfing. But where is it really like the free surfer outlet
Yeah.
that people can actually talk about what they feel, what they do, have fun together? So that I feel there's a space to do that. So because we're actually giving surfers and coaches raw material, which are videos. People with that, like with the videos, we're actually enabling um, in a more serious way this other part, this digital part,
Nice.
and that's where we want to. That's where I think SurfREC's future is going to be a lot about.
Nice.
So
And so, what's your vision as an entrepreneur? Really, I mean, it's the next. I mean, I fully on board with the whole idea and the concept. I think it's going to be so beneficial to Portuguese surfing and in the long term world surfing. But how? And I know that one of the hardest things in Portugal is getting funding and getting backers financially for an investment to carry these ideas forwards. If you look at GoPro, they had first round of investment was was really, really good. And how do we get this concept, and how do we get people on board to put some money into it and to help us and to help you expand and do some more of these cameras all over Portugal? Is that the sort of next step for you? And um,
yeah, exactly. We're actually raising the second round of investment
okay,
at the moment in order to have a national presence
okay,
to then go abroad. So
yeah,
basically, we're like proving the model on a more larger scale in Portugal with flagship units,
great,
SurfREC units, plus also validating the franchise model.
okay,
Um, and this will give us enough maturity to then scale out of Portugal to Europe and the rest of the world, um, while having the digital experience as well. But
okay,
for sure, in Portugal, I mean, yeah, it's different raising in Portugal than it is in the States in terms of money. Obviously, that's why they go way faster. But this, besides being a good idea, is an interesting business as well.
well, I
The
think.
numbers,
I mean, I think this is.
yeah,
I'm going to try to sort of suggest how the podcast can help in this, because with the surf coaching and everything, we can help on that way. But with the podcast, it goes out to a lot of people who are in the US. It goes out to a lot of people who are looking to move and invest in Portugal and invest in Portuguese business, so that they can then help themselves sort of transition from immigrating into Portugal. So maybe we can. I would like to leave a couple of links in the show notes. So I don't know whether we can we leave the link, because you are offering Justin West coaching clients to sign up a deal, right? So we could leave that link, the sign up link. We could also leave the surfrec.com website link. Is surfrec.com or .pt? .com. So we can leave that link, but maybe also, I don't know if you have a link to the investor deck, that we could
I
also.
will. Yeah, I'll create a link for that.
Okay, perfect. That'd be
I'll
amazing.
create a link for that, and my contact will be there.
Yeah,
That's great. That's super helpful,
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
I have a few people that I'm gonna tap up for that as well. I'm gonna as soon as you have that link ready, I'll send it to them to see if they're interested in helping in some way with that. Um,
Perfect.
because it's
Yeah,
a
and
great idea.
because obviously there's some parts of like revenues and what's behind the business that that it's would be important to discuss personally, and show what the potential of the business actually, because
Mhm.
that's also um after after competing, after being in the social entrepreneurship, uh, I wanted to find something, this very hard window between um trying to be in trying to do something I love and that I know about, which is surfing, plus a business that is interesting, because I also want to um, do good in life,
Yeah.
um, and SurfREC is that, for me, at least for me, and yeah, so I'm super excited with the perspectives of SurfREC, both in the surfing world and what it can bring to the surfing world, the necessities it is answering to, but
Mm.
also as a business.
Yeah. I
And
think it's
that's pretty much what I believe. Like, if a business is to do good, it needs to meet uh, a market's expectation,
yeah.
a market's necessity,
I thi
and yeah, I
I
think we're
think it
doing
needs
just
to
that. So
be understandable immediately, and I think for me anyway, it's understandable immediately. Like, I get myself filmed surfing, and it's a simple idea, but it's but it's actually very complex how you get that. But it's a simple idea in terms of marketing to people. It's like, get yourself filmed surfing, and and
exactly,
from that
on
you can
demand.
exactly, and I
It's
think
quite
that's a nice message to
Yeah. It's at the moment it's entry price, but and we only have the pay per minute model. We're working on the subscription model, but it's 25 cents per minute, so it's basically 15 euros per hour.
Okay. And what
For
was the
each.
offer that you offer Justin West Coaching? Are we allowed to announce it on here with that collaboration?
That's a Justin West Coaching exclusive, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
people
anybody wants
who
to have
like
information, anybody wants to have information about surf coaching and using the SurfREC collaboration, just go to the justinwestcoaching.com website and follow through there. There's a bit more information on what you can do, and then you can also click on a link that'll take you to signing up for SurfREC.
cool, cool, man. Man, this was great talking. I'm
Always,
super excited to
always.
to go ahead and
Yeah,
build from this.
great, man. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. And thanks. Always nice to chat with you, Zay. And best luck in the future. And we'll be definitely keeping in contact and exciting stuff. This is Justin West from Podcast Portugal signing out, saying a big thank you to Zay. And I look forward to you guys sending me your SurfREC video for surf coaching on the other life, the Justin West coaching life. Zay, thanks so much, man.
Thank you. Amazing.
If you haven't already switched to Revolut, now is the perfect time. I use Revolut Personal to manage my everyday money, spending, saving, sending across borders. You can hold over 30 currencies, transfer internationally at great rates, and even earn daily interest on your savings. It's smart, fast, and used by more than 60 million people worldwide. And if you run a business, Revolut has even more powerful solutions. Revolut Business gives you a global account built for growth, multi-currency accounts, team cards, spending controls, international transfers, and easy ways to get paid. It's streamlined, affordable, and designed to scale with your business. Here's the best part. Sign up for Revolut Personal with my link below and join me on one of the most advanced money apps available. And if you're a founder or a business owner, use my Revolut Business referral link and get your first month with no subscription fees. Whether it's for your personal finances or your business, Revolut has you covered, all in one place.